Of course, it's always a delight to have you join us on your must-listen to, must-watched current affairs program on television, Politics Today, reaching you live on independent television and radio, Benin, with your host, Sonny Duke Okosun. In today's program, our focus is on Edo At 30. Recall that Edo State was created by a presidential fiat under former military president Babangida. That was in the year 1991. The bonds of love and friendship that existed between Edo and Delta State was severed by that military fiat, and that gave birth to Edo State and Delta State. And from that time till now is exactly 30 years on the road. As a matter of fact, on the 27th of August 1991, that event took place. So today on the program, our focus is on the journey so far. We're looking at yesterday, today, and the future as it relates to Edo State. I want to say big thanks to Bishop Dr. Akhalame, or Dr. Bishop Akhalame, who is a politician. As a matter of fact, the Edo State chairman of Zenith Labour Party is also an author. Thank you for joining us on the program.
Very much. Good morning.
We're expecting Jerry Alegbe, who is a public affairs commentator, to also join this conversation. As is always the case, our studio number will be open in the last 15 minutes of the program, so you can also call and give us your views and perspectives about Edo State at 30. Remember, when you do call, do not cast aspersion on anyone. Do not call names, just focus on the issue. Once again, we thank you for joining us on Politics Today on independent television and radio. Let's get right into the program right away. Bishop Akhalame, thank you for coming again on the program. Okay, it's been a very interesting journey for Edo State. In 1963, we had the Midwest region. Edo State was part of it. And then in 1976, Bender State was given birth to, and Edo State was part of it, predominantly Edo and Delta State as it were. And then in 1991, that bond of love between Edo and Delta sort of was broken with the creation of Edo and Delta State. Edo occupied the northern part of the then Bender State, and of course Delta occupied the southern part of the then Bender State. What are your perspectives on the journey so far, 30 years down the road?
Thank you very much, Pastor Duke Okosun. Good morning, viewers. Well, it has been a very tough journey. And I must say, must posit here that no one will argue that we have not made progress at all, especially in our democracy.
Okay.
And apart from this, there's also a fact that there are so many questions begging for answers. If we must look at the journey 30 years down the line, there is need for us to analyze and assess, evaluate some progress indices in some critical areas, such as education, the economy of Edo State, the infrastructural development, health, and human capital development. Then when we could look at the critical analysis of all these critical areas, we cannot see whether we are where we're supposed to be. Don't forget, when I started, I said, no one will say we have not made any progress. But Duke Okosun, apart from this, we are not yet where we're supposed to be as a state. Let us look at the economy of Edo State in the past, today, and how we want to, how we want it to be in the future, and where we are right now. Because it is the present that will give birth to the future. Yeah. And if we do not address what is happening right now, it will become a complex problem tomorrow. And I want to say here to this program that as a former governorship candidate in Edo State, and as a chairman of a political party, it is our duty to look at all these areas where we have not done well and where we have also done well. We are not criticizing, but what we do is to tell us where we are not done well, because that was the reason why we contested the election. We saw a problem, we feel we have a solution to the problem, but unfortunately we could not win the election, but somebody else won the election. There's still need for us to always tell who is there now, what we're supposed to do. It's not criticism. It's for us to guide him, for us to be on the fastest lane of economic prosperity and development for Edo people.
But there's nothing wrong in criticizing, especially if it's born out of the sincere desire to bring about positive changes. There's nothing wrong in criticisms.
You are right.
Yeah.
But there's a way I look at it. If you want to criticize a man, the way you are, if you want to criticize you, first of all, I will tell you the area you have done well before I criticize you.
Okay.
So when you're looking at the negative side of somebody without looking at what he has done, that is criticism.
Okay.
So there's need for you to look at where he has done well and where he has not done well. If you look at the economy of Edo State today, I was able to look at the GDP of Edo State. I saw that it started at about $11 million US. Where you look at around, what are the problems? Where are we seeing where we are today? Edo State has remained a civil service state where people are being personally going to office. There are no industries. The one we have, which have become moribund, I have always canvassed, even in the last governorship debate, that what we need is to revive the moribund industries in Edo State. Because the Edo State government today, the problem we're having where they cannot really do much is because the state lack what they call financial structures. There are no financial structures for the state to run the economy, to drive the economy of the state. When a man does not have financial structures, he cannot function. You cannot afford the basic things of life because there are no financial structures. The same way you run your personal life, that is the same way you run an organization and government.
Okay.
Okay? I look at it. What was the reason why they had to liquidate Edo line, which was the pride of Edo State? That was a creation, a concept of a governor who thought there's need for me to go into job creative businesses that can give the people jobs and increase the wealth of the state, which is paramount. Then Edo land was created. A lot of workers were there, but today the place is closed down. Why? I did my findings. I discovered that you cannot say because an organization is owing 1.2 billion, owing Union Bank 400 million, and UBA, you said there's need for us to close it down. No. If we are supposed to go to that direction, that means Nigeria should be closed down because we are owing. Everybody is owing. Every organization is owing. So what do you need to do? You go into strategy. Look for people who know how to manage an organization. Not all this kind of political compensation. He campaigned for me, let me put him there. When you know he does not have what it takes
to run the organization.
To run the organization. The time this thing was happening, I did my findings that it was Chief Osubo that was there. He was accused of so many things. Some of the staff said it was corruption that led to that tune of debt of 1.2 billion. Hence, the government have to close it down. It was uncalled for. I have canvassed. Let the government open that place. It will create job, increase wealth. I discovered again, as at that time, the revenue that was coming from a Edo line was 20 to 22 million naira every month. As at that time, you know what that 20 to 22 million naira will be now? It could be 500 million. AKTC was a product of Edo line transport service. They learned from us. Today, AKTC have become one of the biggest transport service you can think of today in Nigeria. In Electoral those days, if you don't have money for transportation, you don't need to worry. All these transport, all those private transport services you have today, they're not popular then. Well structured, you go there. When you get there, you have a choice of the kind of vehicle you want to follow. We have to revisit. We have other money board. The Bede Brewery is there. What is the problem? The debt commissioner said the company was owing 1.9 billion. That's not enough to close the place down. Then I got a report that about 300 workers took the government to court. 300 workers passed to do Kokosu. 300 workers. If an organization can absorb 300 workers from society, what do you think about that society? Unemployment will be reduced. Then, let's talk about individuals. The government cannot do it alone. Today, we have the lack of a Sama Benin. If we have about 10 of that personality in Edo State, in my research, I discovered that today he has almost close to 5,000 employees under his payroll. So we have about 10% like that. We have about 4,000. You will not have crime today in Edo State. The economy is not booming. Because by the time we create all those jobs by the government, two things will happen. We are going to create direct jobs. We create what? Indirect jobs. The beauty of economy is when you have something to sell and there's somebody to buy from you, you'll be happy.
Absolutely.
If you have something to sell and nobody is ready to buy from you because of financial predicament, poverty is inevitable. These are the things you must think about when you want to adjust the economy to make it bubbly and make even the sachet pure water seller be happy on the streets.
Okay.
Then, what do we do? All the ministries in Edo State today, I have always said, you see, if you look at the ministry, every commissioner has to look at the business side of a ministry. Because I'm not too happy, because you know why? Edo State, today we're happy that the internal generated revenue has increased to 2.7 to 8 billion naira. And the allocation coming from Abuja. The governor will tell you that salaries be paid for this money, nothing is left again to construct roads and provide other basic amenities. And that's the question. Is this government for commissioners, the governors, the secretary, and the public and the civil servants? What about those who are not under the employment of government? What about those who are under private employment? Would they not benefit for government? So the allocation will just come. He will go to some few persons. Allocation will just come. You go to some few persons. See, we have to call a spade a spade. It's true about the money that we are getting in the state. So people are just using it to pay themselves salary. We have never talked about this way. These are the things I want to address when I come as a governor of the state. The money will just come. Some first will just take it. Today, in 2006, the after census, we discovered that Edo State was more than 3 million people. But if you come to 2016, it was more than 4 million. Today, 2021, it has increased. It's now approximately 8 million. And the workers in Edo State, in my assessment, in 2014, there were about approximately 49,000 public and civil servants. But I believe today, because of employment that have been done by the government, today it must have increased. It may not be more than 400 or 400, up to even 400,000. They moved 400,000 from 8 million. Just 400,000 people from 8 million. What happened to the 7.6 million people who are not under the government employment? Some of them are other private establishments. Some of them are business people. Some of them are unemployed. So where are they not benefiting from the government? Where the revenue coming in is just for salary. That there will be nothing to even construct road that the other people will now use. Public utilities, health. So it's as if we are not part of the states.
Okay, let's just try and look at this other aspect of the conversation. Politics is very, very key in the development of any society, and in that regards, what's your take on the evolution of the state politically in terms of political awareness, political education, political consciousness, and political participation.
Yes. And I can tell you that, that's why I tell you that initially I told you, I said, democratically, we have progress. There's political awareness. If you look at it today, everybody wants to get involved in politics. And even those of them who do not want to participate, participating in politics doesn't mean that you have to become a candidate anyway. Having interest to vote for the right candidate. Doing an election like this, you are warming up, you want to get your PVC because you want to vote for the right candidate. That means the consciousness and awareness is there. People begin to understand that if I don't vote, I do not have the right
to complain.
You cannot question a system you have refused to be part of. During the election, you say you not go to the field to vote. Now a governor has emerged. You are complaining has not constructed roads. Were you part of the process? That's what we have already said. Once you have your PVC, automatically you are a custodian of power. Go get registered with the INEC, get your voter's card, during the election, go to the field, and before then, listen to their promises, their campaign, possibly won their debates. It is not easy to know a man that has vision. It is very easy to know a man that has vision idea for the state when you listen to that man talking. You should not be influenced by money, by a bag of rice, wheelbarrow, grinding machine, but you should be driven by the idea, the meta asset of the man you want to vote for. So when you go to the field, you know you have voted for the right candidate. So that is where our people are having issues. It's not as if the political consciousness and awareness is not there, but they still lack this ability, the consciousness to know the right candidate and vote for them during the election.
All right. In that regard, we have also seen that in terms of how the state has evolved politically. In 1999 or thereabout, we had just the PDP as a dominant political parties. Yeah. That evolution has now given birth to the APC. I don't want to go through all the processes that led to the emergence of APC, but in a sense, within these 30 years, we've only seen two major dominant political parties. Yeah. What does that portend for the state politically?
Politically, it is not good. It is not good for our democracy. But today, as it stands, we have about 18 political parties as approved and are registered and screened by INEC.
In Edo State?
In Nigeria.
Okay.
We used to have about almost close to 80 political parties in Nigeria. But about 74 of them have been registered. We now have 80 political parties standing in Nigeria. And all these political parties today, we have almost 15 to 16 of them in Edo State. And I can tell you that none of these political parties do not have structures. But I can tell you where these people started from. The two major political parties happen to be those political parties that have the financial muscle to put through in any election. Because of this, they have this advantage, this competitive advantage to always subdue the smaller parties during the election. So because of that, people prefer to go to those bigger parties where they can get their share during the election. That's what we are canvassing now. Oh, this small party, they don't have money to share. So let's go to PDP, APC, where we get there, we have money to share. That's why I said you should not be driven by what you can share from a political party, but you should be driven by ideology.
If this ideology is strong enough, will it not pull people to it?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. If the ideology of these smaller parties, if it is strong enough, and then the drivers of this ideology, they have a strategy that resonates with the people, will it not pull the people to them?
Because you know very well that they have the strategy to put through. But the problem we're having is that's why we are still canvassing now. We are still preaching. We are on the street every day. Try to make sure that electorate understand that they should not cast their vote based on what you can get from a candidate, but rather you'll be driven by the ideas, the policies, the programs candidate in question. That's why I'm always happy doing election. People like you normally call for a debate so that people can look at those people. The APC candidate, the PDP candidate, the Zenable party candidate, the SDP, then they canvass, then they tell the people what they are going to do. You listen to them, you go to the field, you vote for the right candidate. I have always said, being a member of PDP or APC does not mean you have to vote for your candidate when you know your candidate does not have the potential, does not have the idea, does not have what it takes to drive the economy of the state.
Okay, let me pass you there. Let me thank Jerry Alegbe for joining us this beautiful Saturday morning on Politics Today. Getting here is pretty challenging because there's a broken down vehicle by 7-Up and they're battling to lift the vehicle up, and that means everyone is not clinked together on one lane, and it's not a friendly experience at all. So I can tell what Jerry went through getting here. But all the same, we thank you for coming on the program.
Thank you very much.
Okay, let's just get your views on 30 years down the line with the creation of Edo State. I mean, we know that Delta State was also created on that day. I think Ekiti State, and then you have Taraba State and a few other states created on that state. Comparatively, how would you assess the growth, development of Edo State politically and otherwise these 30 years?
Well, I think it's okay. It's encouraging. We are doing well. If you compare to other states, I don't think we are doing too badly. One of the issues or one of the problems or challenges we have is we play bad politics in Edo State.
Bad politics?
Bad politics, from the inception to this very particular time. You see, when you want to talk about the growth of somebody, you should look at the foundation of the person. Recall that this same state that we call Edo State today was the old Midwestern region. And from the time it was created in 1966 till today, we have never really departed from the Western region. And because of the kind of bad politics, that what I refer to as bad politics is that from 1966 to the time the military came in, the only time you saw very massive progress in the present Edo State, or present Bendel as it was then, as Bendel Edo State, was between 1966 and 1975. Right from 1975 to this very particular time, it is now that we are going to democracy. We are having some sound governors who are coming up to rebuild the old Edo State or the old Midwestern region. If you look at what I meant by bad politics was the fact that in 1975, we had the takeover of government from Brigadier General Colonel Eso Bemudia to Colonel Agbazika Ini. You need to come and see the politics that was going on at that very particular time. The Benis, the Esakos, the politics was so dirty that then you will say, and they will say, no, this is our son, we played that politics. Of course, you know what happened. Agbazika Ini was removed, was taken to Ilori, Kwara State. And today, the development in Ilori is a blueprint of what he had in Bendel State or Midwestern region that time.
That time?
Yeah, that was what he took over there. When we left there, because our two sons, we could not manage ourselves, we could not manage our local politics, they were bringing to Bendel State or Edo State at it is now, all, sorry, apologies, military governors that were from the most underdeveloped part of Nigeria. And at the end of it, or when they got to a Bendel State, they just saw it at, come on, look at where you are, and you are still complaining. So they left us to be, and you recall, there was a governor that was going on tour and got to around the Bonkpa area and said that there was no need of touring again, because when he got to a village, he saw pipe-borne water and came back to government house. It was in this seat, it was in this Benin City, all of us were seeing it that time. So they were bringing these governors to us, and I will refer to it that we were experiencing underdevelopment. Most of our infrastructures were gone, and it was that same period, that same thing that dovetailed into what we call Edo State today. Also take note, Bendel State that now becomes Edo State, we were sharing something 1/4. Now it's now 1/36. So you can imagine the level of development. So all we did in between 1966 and 1975, the height we attained, Bendel #1 in sports, in everything, one policy from the majority tribe finished us, quota system. And the moment they introduce the quota system, that's the end. So if you like, you have 100 first class this thing. The school set from Yobe State will be the one that they will take only one from you. So you see, we need to come back to ourselves. We need to really sit down and begin to think of how we as a people can begin to play good politics. What we are doing now, you are just, if you leave that of, come to 1979, by 1980, there was the Sheikh Shagari, Ambrose Salim, MPN, UPN, Wahala. That time when the politics comes, it looks as if Soniduk, we are no longer brothers and sisters. We will be fighting each other as it is. Now you come back to, I mean, the present day situation. Between 1999, let me tell you something, there's no governor that came to Edo State, that was elected to Edo State, that didn't mean well for Edo State. For instance, somebody like Lucky Gbenedo inherited a moribund state where, you recall, we had a governor that came from Taraba State who introduced what we call the self-sustainable policy and said that parastatals should be paying themselves salaries. That Ministry of Sports go around and collect salary and pay. Ministry of Library Board go and collect salary and pay. At the end of it, it was owing millions, it was owing months. And one painful day was the day I was watching on television when he paid 9 months to library. That is already paying 9 months out of their salary or paying some few months. They went to government house. You know, when you dehumanize the people, they take their privilege for a right. You know, they take their right like as a privilege. They got to government house and knelt down and started thanking the military governor for helping them. We have forgotten all those things. But when Lucky Gbenedo came, he upset all those things and we started moving. But again, bad politics that we always play. Ego. So all those things are there that are holding us. But today in Edo State, if you come back to maybe a question, for instance, what is existing here now? Yeah. Our industries are gone. Our culture, we don't even have it again. I remember that when we were young, we have the richest culture in Africa. I want to be challenged by anybody. The Eastern have Babonemi. Benin people have beautiful steps. I used to know of Karita in those days when I was young. If you go to Edo, there's no community that don't have culture. All of them are, even up to our names. You hear somebody being called Osaje, they say it's now God sent. That is how we have been reduced. And so, our industries are gone, the higher institutions that we are always having one problem or the other. We are marching slowly. We are not following the trends that people are following. That is the situation that is in Edo State.
Fantastic. Thank you, Jerry, for those views that you just expressed. But let's get back to you now. Shortly, our studio line will be open so you can also, people can call and be part of the discussion. We are here now. I've heard people say, we've never had it so good up until now, arising from how the last election went, the level of participation, the level of involvement, and then going forward. How do you think we can rejig things the way they are now, politically and otherwise, to put us on that trajectory of progress, peace, development that we've always desired, better than what we have now?
Yes. There are no better way to do this than to work on the economy, number one. Because if you look at what is happening, everything we are discussing today, whether politically or otherwise, settled on the economy of the state. Well, a lot of people are now engaged politically. They are now asked during the election to vote for the right candidates. But you see, to me, they are not doing it the way they were supposed to do it to enable the right candidate to emerge in an election. Why? Poverty. Poverty. The people are incapacitated financially, economically poor. So because of this, when you give them one error, when they want to know that Sonny Duke Okosu is the right candidate qualified to lead us, they will go to the field and vote for another who can afford that 1,000 naira. So if we must move forward in Edo State, like I said before, I've given you about 5 areas, critical areas that we must look into. Politically, I told you we have progressed. But we cannot be discussing this issue politically without addressing other issues. Look at agriculture. We have Ministry of Agriculture. Duke, I can tell you that we have staff there being paid by the government. Then what is coming from that ministry? We have a fertile land, initial land, for rice production. We have fertile land for onion, for rice production. We have fertile land for rice production for Mekpere. Has that ministry suggested to the governor, let us take advantage of this fertile land for rice production? Do you know when we have rice production in all this area, there are three things that will happen. One, you're going to create jobs. Of course, increase the revenue of the state. The way money is generated like this, to pay worker salary will be a kind of it will be stress free for the governor. You will be thinking of how to use the federal allocation to pay worker salary. Like what he said just now. You know what I said? I nodded my head. That's the way it's supposed to be. That's why I said in every ministry, you have to look at the business side of that ministry. We have Ministry of Commerce. What are you doing? Are we for you to have Edo shopping mall? Edo shop, right? These are things you can open in consultation with the government.
You said a while ago that politically we've made progress.
We made progress.
I saw a video recently where an 80-year-old man was being tortured, beaten in a community. Is that political development?
No.
Yes.
You see, you know, Duke, it's a normal. We have exceptional cases in our situation. You know, before now, you compare to what we have now to what we have before now.
Okay, let me get Jerry to respond to this.
Yeah, thank you.
Politically, yeah. Where are we? Because you said what has been a major impediment is the challenge of bad politics. And you're saying it's still prevalent even till tomorrow in Edo State.
Yes, it's still prevalent in Edo State because we have not been able to separate politics from governance. That is one of the problems we are having. And two, there's something that has been going on in Edo State. There's this issue of old school and what we call new school now. We don't have elders behind that we refer to. Midwestern region, Western region, the North, the East, they all have a body. Afenifere is for Western region, Arewa is from Northern region, unless Ndibu. Midwest does not have, Edo does not have. I know the funny thing, we have the best tradition, and we have only one father. This is the only state whose name is his people. We are Edo people and we are Edo State. And we have one royal majesty. So our traditional rulers, traditional institutions are rich, very rich. So what I'm saying is that we are playing bad politics. We don't know how to play the politics. And the reason is just simple, ego. Once the wahala comes, everybody holds on to one thing or
another. What do you expect a social-cultural organization, like maybe a pan-Yoruba organization or a pan-Edo, what do you expect it to do in terms of things, some of this issue that you've highlighted?
That's what I'm telling you now, that those, you see, you have elders, you have those people you call the Fulanis, they all have their fathers behind. And if you want to destroy a generation, you just tell them to undermine their fathers. So what they normally do, when issues come, they go back to them. What do you want to talk about the construction of roads? The engineers that did the roads that we are still on, that did it in how many years ago? The roads are still strong, they are there. Today we are having disposable roads. They say you do it for 6 months, then it will get spoiled and rest of them. So you see, those people are there until we go back to those old school and begin to ask them, what do we do? You have a father. There are certain things you just go to them. What are you going to talk about? The roads engineering, where you have the Zebus, the Pisces, and all of them in survey. They are all there. There's your JK, they are old men that are there, but they are ready to offer advice. But what do you see? The younger ones are giving power. They are excited by the vehicles and deciding and you tell them that this thing you are doing is wrong. They tell them that those ones are old school. What has old school landed us in the world? Man can marry man, woman can marry woman. Back to Edo State. The politics we are playing here is dirty. But I'd like to tell you one good news. The arrangement of this present administration is fantastic as far as I'm concerned. Politics aside, elections came, the fourth election, they went to Supreme Court, somebody won, the former governor congratulated the present governor, his aspirant, the pastor congratulated him. Politics should end there. Now come to Obaseki's regime. When he came to power, the first thing he did was to set up a committee headed by Professor Honwiri. And they came out with a blueprint. I want to remind my colleague here, my friend here, that in every ministry, there is a template. He organized workshop in virtually all areas, sports, agri, technical education, and Honwiri's committee came out with a blueprint. So when you go to the Ministry of Agri, for instance, there is a paper you can work on. You cannot progress if you don't have a piece of paper to work on.
That's the plan.
So the present government is starting on a good note by having a template. Every ministry has it. How to do it, the challenges, the finances will come, and the rest of them. So if you say you want to, recently I heard about the Alaro Summit, where they had a 30-year development plan. There's no other way you can do it. That's how it's done all over the world. Although the issue of the name of Alaro, I find it difficult to explain to my aunties and uncles in the village because I don't know what Alaro is over there. We know it in Benin here.
So you translate it to
yeah, that's what we are doing. I translated that it means progress.
Yes.
So right now there is a blueprint. There are papers that you can say, and there's no other way. So that's why I say that the governor's approach is okay. And when that time they were saying that Oshimole was bringing Obaseki, take care of governance, I'll take care of politics. And the only thing the governor is not getting too right with is the same politics that I was telling you of just now. And I will even commend his effort. He just came into the business. His approach is still but he has to learn. By the time he conducts primaries next year, they will have gone to the fire of politics, and he will get more matured.
Okay. Because you just mentioned primaries, perhaps we could just use this opportunity to x-ray that, because we know that the National Assembly has passed the Electoral Amendment Act, just waiting for Mr. President to assent to it. And one major thorny issue has been the issue of direct primaries for political parties. Bishop, let's get your take on this.
Yes. Some time ago we discussed this issue, this primary election. Like our party, the Zeno Labour Party, we're already planning on how to seek redress in court as regard the primary election. Because for us, government are no longer giving subvention to political parties. So those in power, the political party in power, seems to have access to the finance to run election. So for the smaller parties who do not have the financial muscle to go through the primary election, we prefer the indirect primary election. So for us, we still stand on the indirect primary election. But if you look at the whole thing that we amended on that act, that even next year June, that is primary election supposed to must have started. Yeah. So we are waiting for Mr. President to accept to that bill. Not of the Mr. President accept to that bill. All this we are just talking about, to me, they are just mirage. To me, the primary election, the primary election which they have made to be direct, is not good for small parties like us, other smaller parties.
Why is it not good?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Because
people are talking about
no.
Democracy. So why is it
no, they will say participate. During the election, during the general election, they participate.
How are they? They participate.
They participate. They vote.
The political parties have made the choice.
We made the choice.
Whether wrong or right.
It's not
like we saw in 2015.
It is not.
I mean, it's clear.
No,
that's what it is.
It is not wrong or right. Let me ask you a question. If there's a major event to be attended by ITV, and the whole staff look around and say, Duke Okosu, go and represent us. And you go in there, you take a decision and you bring it that ratify for you. Will you say it's a wrong decision? Because they trusted you. You understand ITV. You know the mission of the organization. So wherever you go, you preach the gospel of where you serve. So if a particular government or a ward elects a leader, go to the city of Benin and represent us in this indirect primary election and vote for the candidate of our choice. So that means that leader is going there in the interest of the people that he left behind. So to me, it is more expensive to operate a direct primary mode of what? Election for candidates. It is good. It becomes very economic, very, very cheap for APC and PDP because they are in control of our resources. They cannot stay from there.
Okay. Jerry, what's your perspective?
First of all, I think the issue of primaries in political parties should be left to the parties to decide. Here, with due respect to you, are discussing Edo At 30. And what we are coming here to come and do is to provide solution to our problems. Edo State has, over the years, I told you before that the military governors that were coming will reduce us. The quota system reduced us to where we are today. And so, when we now have our sons being elected as governors from Electoral, the program of Ekigbinedion, Ideal Renazas, one of the most fantastic.
It's still until tomorrow.
It's still until tomorrow, and people are saying, my friend's daughter went there. What stops the other first ladies from going back to that lady now and holding a meeting and say that, look, let us form an association of this, because we are going to get a wealth of experience from him. At the national level, we have the Council of State meeting. I don't see anything wrong if the governor decides to call all the former governors together, chief judges together, former speakers, everybody, and hold a meeting and say, what way forward? Because when you become a governor, one of the things you should pray for very fervently is not to have the wrong people around you. They call them PA or special assistant. If you have an overambitious one around you, he will drive away the reasonable people from you. If you look at, I was telling you about Edo State, for instance. In Edo State, you have Edo Forum. In the various senatorial districts, in Benin, you have the Benin Forum, you have the Esai Kolo, you have the Afemai Forum. All these come together to form what we call Edo Forum. And then Colonel Ogbebo of Blessed Mommy, we used to meet in that place. There was a time in 2002 that Dr. Eso Bemudia gathered people from Bende and from the Bende Consultative Council. And look, it was, who is who? Agbazi Kaini, later Tonio, Momo, all of them, they all came together. But you know what happened? It was an Edo man and the former president also that felt that that Bende coming together would be a threat and disorganize it. So we as a people, the governor is a product. This present governor is a product. He didn't come from politics. They just recognize him and say that, look, this man is vast in the private sector. So come and do similar things in the Edo State. You cannot stand on nothing. Yeah. That's what I told you just now, that the blueprint is working out well. Okay. I'm not in his party. He has a power project. You go to the Central Park, then you go even to the ministries. If you go to those projects that were abandoned since 1975, they are being completed. And the most important thing, which is the one I told you just now, is the fact that there is a template for every ministry that you can work on. So in moving Edo forward, for instance, we must learn to go back to our elders. We must learn to find out from them, because of this age of old school. You just started politics, you think that the old man does not have anything to say. Like you were talking about some 30-year-old, 80-year-old man being beaten. That the overzealous people that want to impress the governor, that they are so fantastic. And most of the people you have at the corridors of power today, if you are close to them, you will pity the states.
Okay. All right, let's open our studio line and get you connected to participate on Politics Today. Good morning. What's your name and where are you calling us from? Mosa, go ahead. Edo At 30. What are your perspectives?
Supposed to be the effort of everybody. Now, the problem we have in the country is that in different type of positions people are acquired in this country. They don't need the advice from the masses. If the government wants to increase fuel, they can increase fuel at their own pace. They want diesel now is 350 naira per diesel, close to 400. The kg of gas is 750, 800 naira per kg. Or let me put it 700 per kg. They want to increase fuel now to 370 naira by liter, which is the government that can pay that everything is going to be reduced. Before they came in, diesel was 120. Before they came in, fuel was
I need to try to stay on course.
Now, these people are preached in different ways. And the one of our brother is here now, telling us that when they enter, they will do this or they will do that. We don't believe on any speech or any.
Okay, I need to pause you there because you are taking us off track. Try to stay on course. Yes, good morning, caller. Good morning, we can hear you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Pastor do what?
Thank you, Pastor Ivy. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't know how you gather them together.
Okay.
I don't really know the kind of spirit that follow you. You act like a perfect man. Can't that is like Israel in Edo State. Everybody go and listen to the politics today. Is where you are going. I don't know why people tell us not to commend you. You are wonderful. You are full of excellence. The people that hold the temple. My church of failure. Thank you. God bless you, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the compliments. Hello, caller. Good morning. What's your name?
Yeah, Alex, I'm from Jerry.
Yes, go ahead, Omo.
I want to praise your guests there. They've done justice to the topic.
Thank you.
Everywhere around the world, experience is very important. You can check it now, even at Manchester United. Alex Ferguson is to be consulted. So our present day politicians, youthful exuberance, youthful rascality, forget to go back to the elders. It's very important. When a child works too much, he goes back to his father if he still has one. Or those who are at that circle. I'm not saying every elderly person is good, or some of them are misleading too. Some of them are also misleading young politicians. They should have to steal ballot votes and share money. There are good ones.
Okay.
So, and we don't have leaders that love their own people. Patriotism is missing in Edo State. Tribalism is still there. I'm Alisha man. I'm the new man. I'm Panet Jacob. So until we learn to have people that have our own blood, people who want to say this is my people. I cannot compromise with the federal government on this. People who can look at Apple and say to the federal government and say no, Edo State will not accept it. We will not accept insecurity. We will not accept marginalization. We will not accept a lot of things that other states are accepting because we are Edo people.
Okay, thank you. I'm from GRA. Our number 052290573. Yes, good morning, caller. You're live on the program. Good morning. What's your name?
David from Benin.
Yes, David. Go ahead, please.
I will beg this present government to give us what we have not seen before in the state. We were talking about street lights. There was street light before. There was street light before. Give us flyover. We don't have flyovers like the Gilly Code. Yeah, we don't have that one before. Give us that one. Why are holding those things? You said you want to give us Gilly. That project, we have not seen it. And we just remember about 3 years for you to leave. Okay, Central Park. We don't have Central Park before. Okay, I'll give you Central Park. Yeah. What? We are just looking for a new thing that is coming from this new government.
Okay, so new things. I'm glad you even mentioned some of the new things that has been brought to bear in the state. I'm glad you mentioned them. So we need more. That's what you're saying.
Thank you. Like the previous government, they gave us a double lane. We're not having double lane before.
All right, so let's get more calls. Good morning, caller. What's your name and where you calling us from? Yeah.
My name is Neville Obakadu.
Neville, go ahead, Neville. Good to have you on the program. Go ahead.
Yes, I just want to correct an impression about this creation of Edo State. Edo State was never created. What was created was Midwest. Then in Midwest was later renamed Bendel State and Murtala Mohammed administration.
Yeah.
Babangida now created Delta State from the old Bendel State and renamed the remaining part of old Bendel State as Edo State. So Edo State is just a transformation of Midwest.
Okay.
It was not created, and so we should put it in the right perspective and then start our discussion from there. Edo State should go and be demanding either reparation or what belongs to us from the old Western State, and then we should have a kind of state conference where people from all walks of life can send their idea to the government on how to run affairs of our state. That's my contribution.
Thank you very much, Daniel Obagedo. Let's get back to the studio and quickly conclude. Final thoughts, Mr. Bakala.
Yeah, I want to say this, suggest to the governor that where I have listened closely to him and I understand his philosophy, that he believes in human capital development, and he's doing that. But I also want to say to him again that as a governor, when you want to do anything, you have a premeditated idea for the people, there's need for you to blend it with what the people want. You should at a time, from time to time, have a town hall meeting with Edo people, not just his political party members. Edo people, ask them what they want. When you begin to deliver to them according to their demand, according to what they want, you will see everybody happy. Because to him, he may be doing what he wants to do. And those who are close to him, they may not tell him that, sir, this is what the people are actually doing. That is the problem I have in Nigeria. Psychopathic politics, where we don't tell our leaders where they have not done well. That's why we, in the other party, in the other political party, will not stand to always suggest to him. Now, you see, in governance, there's need for you to look for caliber hand. Square peg, square hole. Round peg, round hole. Okay. You emerge as a governor of PDP. You know that you contested an election with other candidates from other various political parties. There's need for you to run what's called inclusive governance. That is the only way you can have good governance. You can deliver. Because there's need for you to tap into the meta resources of other various political parties, government candidates, because they have ideas which prepare them initially to have contested the election. Bring in the right people to collectively drive the economy of Edo State.
All right, Jerry, final thoughts.
Yeah, a typical politician in Nigeria scares away any reasonable person from those in government. But what I will ask Edo people first is that there is nobody called governor or government. There's somebody called governor, but there's no government. You see, I think it was a hangover from the colonial masters that there's one manna from heaven that you are going to collect something free from. Everybody is a government. So if you are in a road, you are staying in a particular area, for instance, the governor cannot be everywhere. And for God's sake, between now and 2024, there is a man that is a governor, there is a deputy governor. They will remain there till that very particular time. So for us to move the state forward, because we are discussing Edo At 30, we need to cooperate with them. We need to work with them. How does it start? If you are in a street, call your street members, call your street landlords, call your co-tenants and say, look, government cannot come and do all these things for us. Let us help ourselves. Because in the first place, even the resources, the tax, do people pay taxes apart from workers? Pay as you earn. People don't pay that. They don't even know what governance is about. They have a very erroneous impression about. They believe that government is one big place where you can go and take money every time. So we need to change that orientation that I am government. You, Sonny Duke, you are government. Bishop, you are government. And wherever you are, preside over what is there, or particularly when it is not contravening the laws. So please, for Edo State to move to the next level, let everybody cooperate with the governor.
Okay, all right.
And in doing that, go to your environment, go to your village. That's number one. The other point again is that, like he said just now, the governor, there is no community that does not have a development union. In my place, you have my own union, Utuo Union, you have a Bele Union, you have a Poma Union. The governor calls on all their national presidents from the various areas and hold a town hall meeting. The moment he hands over that thing to a politician, when they go, they will select the neophytes in around the area and say that these are the people that love you. So we need to change that orientation, and our people need to cooperate with the government, and the governor need to look back and begin to call on the others who were in government before to help him advise
take ideas
take
from
ideas from
share
them,
ideas with them,
so that you are constructing a road. For instance, when we heard of the water storm project 320, I don't know how many billions it was. There was a water storm, there was a drainage system that went through Edo State in the 70s. And when it came up in 2001, 2002, they called on an old man. They said, we're asking them, what do they say? No, Pedrochi, they're in Saple Road. Please, what can we do? They say, when you open up the drains and you desilt, the whole thing will open up again. But they got that idea because they sorted the idea from an old person who was there before. But when you just come, you come around and begin to be excited that they tell you are the leader. You start afresh. Okay. Something that was already in existence.
Our time is up, gentlemen. I want to say big thanks to you for being a part of the show. Dr. Bishop Ahalame, thank you much. Thank you so much for coming. The Zenith Labour Party chairman, former governorship candidate. Thank you again. Jerry Alegba, thank you so much for coming on the program. Well, that's it on Politics Today on independent television and radio. We appreciate you for staying with us all the way. Be sure to join us next week. Saturday, we'll be back here again with a fresh edition of the show. Remember, Edo State is ours, and we need to work collectively to make the state what it ought to be, so we can continue to live in peace and harmony and then move the state forward. Have a beautiful weekend. Bye for now.